Some sciences in the tarot. This is a fire, exclusive book. Introduction to the Golden Dawn Tarot. Golden Dawn, not getting too deep into their little thing. But it's the little group connected to the OTO. Later with Aleister Crowley. But the members of the Golden Dawn, in particular, there was a, expression of the tarot that was before the Rider-Waite deck. This is from the Rider-Waite deck, But the Rider-Waite deck, those two people are from the Golden Dawn themselves as well. Getting into a little bit of it. Nice literature. All right, let's see what was. I was noticing, for one, like the princes in this deck, they got the Princes of Cups. And the Princes of Cups is like the Page of Cups in this deck. So, see, holding the cup, looking at the cup. Holding the cup, looking at the cup. And I realized on each one for the page, like the page is like studying that water, you know what I'm saying? Or if it was the Page of Pentacles, it would be studying that earth or that pinnacle, wands and swords, same thing. And, no coincidence. Now, again, like in this deck, the princess goes, again, like in connection with the page. And, you look at it, like the page is studying the cups. And the princess represents, now this literature, to have some literature connected with it. Lion Milo Duquette talked about it in his Kabbalah book, Kabbalah Chicken Noodle Soup, or Chicken Noodle Soup Kabbalah, something like that. But he brought up how the princess is a representation of, the soul going down into the physical, and also like, to some extent, like the Lilith aspect, more so, not going too deep into that, not saying it's that representation, but also like the princess, like stories of the princess being raped, or, are dirty, or how they would say that, soiled in some way, form, or fashion, is the personification of the soul, coming into the earth experience, and the soul picking up on all these vibes due to being in this bodysuit, and that's also connected to the story, or should I say, with the movie Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth, the little human girl, come to find out she's a princess in a whole nother realm, but she went, through the labyrinth, in essence, to Earth, and forgot who she was, you know what I'm saying, in order to study, because again, when we forget that we know everything and we forget that we are the no thing on the human experience, that does allow for us to have an experience and to, study. Like, the only reason why I study and exist, or like, going within self exists, is because there's still some things that, we're remembering that we don't, fully quite grasp. So again, like that study aspect, you're studying something, with the page, studying the water, cups, the water, studying the emotions, studying the subconscious, so this card would be in connection with that energy. And in this deck, they also have like the king and the prince, and then the other deck is the king and the knight, but they have it interchangeable in this deck. You know, the king in this deck rides a horse like the knight, you know, but he also represents the mutable energy, like, so the king represents mutable energy, so the king of cups would be mutable water. What's mutable water? That's Pisces. You know, so the king of cups connected with Pisces. The queen of cups, and again, this shows it throughout, you know, say, for instance, from what they're showing right here and the signs behind it and what's on the Rider-Waite deck, you know, it shows the queen represents the cardinal sign because the queen ain't moving. You know, like how, again, in this deck, the king on the horse, but in the Rider-Waite deck, he's sitting down. You know, that change, mutable, changing. You know what I'm saying? That queen setting a trend and keeping it cardinal, you know. Got the Ibis by, got Toth on deck, but you know, the queen represents cardinal water, so that's Cancer. You see, in the prince is kind of representing like the king again, like they got to where it's interchangeable in this deck, where it's like the king and the knight. The king and the knight in that too, in that sense, because they like saying like the prince grows up to be the king in that sense, so that's why, you know, he's sitting in the chair. I'm trying to get a little closer. Yeah. There's the Prince of Cups, and so the king represents mutable signs, and connecting this with the night card, this would represent, night cards represent fixed energy, you know. But again, the night card in the Rider-Waite deck has the horse, you know, the knight is sitting on the horse. But again, I took the horse like being on four legs, like the four fixed signs and being fixed, you know, on that horse. And in most cases, look like in the night or in the Rider-Waite deck, the knights look like they're on a mission, like, bro, like they fixed on a mission, you know. So it's like a fixed sign. And fixed water is, I was about to say Aquarius, Scorpio. Water. Again, it's a good little book. Breaking down. And with anything, you know, we're learning any of this, you know, because again, what we consume is becoming, you know, a part of our subconscious programming, whether we want it or not. So also being aware, you know, to just learn, take what resonate, leave what don't, you know. It ain't like, oh, this book or this information is the end all be all, you know. You know, you pull a little truth, just like we're studying, you know, again, for myself, like reading about voodoo, Santeria, you know, yoga or yogis and cry yoga, and then, you know, stuff from Christianity, from the Gnostic scriptures. But, you know, it's like take what resonate, leave what don't, see all the connections, you know, that make things make sense, you know, in that sense. You know, that help bring solutions to understanding ourselves better and understanding what am I doing here on this plane of existence and where am I going next. Now, as the vibrate, of course, the universe is really a thought form projected from the mind of God. The Kabbalistic tree, the Kabbalah, might be likened to a dream picture arising from the subconscious of God and and dramatizing the subconscious content of deity. And what? Dramatizing the subconscious content of deity. So here it is, these, Dion Fortune. What I've been saying without reading it or regurgitating it from a book, because I didn't read about it, I experienced it. But, basically saying what I've been saying about dreams and the subconscious and, and how deities are, what may be called gods or, these mythologies is, you could say subconscious content. Because again, this bodysuit, when we talk about anatomy, and again, anatomy not just about bodysuits, it's about the inner workings of things, But the inner workings of things, in essence, had to be thought up of. It had to be, a part of the I imagination, aka the subconscious. It had to be imagined, and be the content of the subconscious in order for it to be a deity or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Again, if it's mythology, it's also anatomy. It's also a part of the inner workings of the universe. In other words, if the universe is the conscious end product of the mental activity of the logos, the tree is the symbolic representation of the raw material of the divine consciousness and of the processes whereby the universe came into being. 33. Let me see. I know they got the tree of life in here somewhere. There we go. You got the triple darkness that be above here. Ain Sof, and Ain Sof and they spell Sof S-O-P-H, and Sof, when they talk about the wisdom of Sophia, in connection with the Gnostic scriptures, and this is the part that they left out of the Bible. They just gave you the regular Genesis story. They ain't let you know about the dynamics of the, the spiritual literature in connection with why they brought up having a tree with an apple with Adam and Eve and, the whole story. But, again, in each main major card in the tarot, it tells a story from the fool to the magician. Again, the symbols, the subconscious. That's what it's all about, understanding the inner workings of that, Basically almost like being like, not necessarily in the sense of, where you're looking at your job, in essence, to incept, like off of the movie Inception, but definitely like understanding like the inner workings of, the dream realm, or our inner realm, our inner being, you know what I'm saying? Because it's basically like a bunch of intertwined, multi-dimensional dream worlds, in essence, and how to have access to them, whether still in this bodysuit or when we transition, accessing these different dimensions, and knowing that we have access to these different dimensions and keeping it, 100 with the aspect of, we enjoy our earthly experience, from the learning process, from the insight, being the princess, going through the labyrinth, and at the same time remembering like, oh shit, on Pan's Labyrinth, she went back and had a whole little kingdom to vibe with. It was like, oh, we've been waiting for you, you're back, You know what I'm saying? Imagine that you got like a little party, you know, like you transition and you choose not to come back into the earthly plane and you got a little party waiting for you. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even know it. You ain't even remember it. I should say. Yeah. Peace. Peace. Nah, it's a vibe break.